Welcome back to CBS This Morning. 1 year ago today, China told the World Health Organization about the coronavirus for the first time. The search for a vaccine started soon after, but there is serious concern that poorer countries are being left behind in the search for global immunity. Thousands of volunteers from low-income countries in Africa took part in clinical trials of the new vaccines. In spite of that, new research indicates wealthy countries, with just 14% of the world's population, have bought more than half of the doses of leading vaccines. Debora Patta is in South Africa looking at what the consequences could be if vaccines are not distributed equitably.
A shot in the arm in a small, stuffy room in the township of Soweto.
How was
it? It may not look like much, but Dimakatso Kaneni believes this is her only opportunity to protect herself against COVID-19 for the foreseeable future.
So I felt this is a good chance for me because I'm not working and it's a chance for me, so let me go for it.
So this was your best chance of getting a vaccine?
It was.
Her instincts are not far off. Kaneni is participating in one of 4 vaccine trials underway in South Africa. But despite being at the forefront of vaccine research on this continent, this country, like so many other African nations, might have to wait until 2023 before everyone has been immunized.
What we are headed for right now is a scenario where the frontline healthcare workers in Ethiopia will still be waiting to be vaccinated even after all the 20-year-olds in the US have been vaccinated, and that is an unacceptable scenario.
Andrea Taylor is Duke University's lead researcher into global vaccine distribution. She tells us that the delay in vaccinating poorer countries will have devastating consequences for the global economy, costing wealthy nations around $120 billion. Nobody is safe until everyone is safe.
There's also a very real risk that if the pandemic is allowed to continue raging in poorer countries, while high-income countries are protected, it can continue to mutate and spread. And there's a chance that we could end up then with a strain that our current vaccine candidates don't cover.
Around 100 nations have joined an initiative to help provide fair access to vaccines, but it's so far falling well short of demand. And once the vaccine finally reaches low-income nations, there is another major roadblock ahead: distribution. Just ask any UN health worker about the logistical nightmare of transporting vaccines to remote areas, using bikes in South Sudan, on foot in Nepal, by donkey in Yemen, or over water to far-flung villages in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Pfizer vaccine, already being distributed in the US, needs to be stored at ultra-freezing temperatures, a problem for places with poor or non-existent electrical grids. Professor Shabir Mahdi heads up the Oxford AstraZeneca trials in South Africa. It's a front-runner for wide distribution here because it's cheaper than the other leading candidates and only requires normal refrigeration. He says the COVID vaccine will have to be easily accessible so that people don't have to travel miles to get that life-saving shot.
We need to ensure that the program itself is extremely friendly and inviting for people to come forward, because the last thing that we're wanting to do is add fuel to the anti-vaccine lobby in terms of why people shouldn't be vaccinated. That's what we're wanting to avoid.
This may be a new pandemic, but it comes with age-old problems of inequality as developing nations prepare for the mammoth task of vaccinating hundreds of thousands of people in remote corners of the globe. For CBS This Morning, Debora Patta, Alexandra Township, South Africa.
Some consequential reporting there from Debora, and it's something, when I was a foreign correspondent in Africa, you talk about AIDS and malaria. Under the best of conditions, these countries are struggling. You'd factor in COVID-19 and the fact that 20-year-olds here in the U.S. will be vaccinated before essential workers in Ethiopia is remarkable.
Just watching that puts our concerns and complaints in perspective, doesn't it?
And so many immigrants in this country have family overseas in developing country. I worry about my grandmother in the Dominican Republic, who's 86 years old. She's probably not going to get this for years.